Meet a young Aussie adventurer. He's giving Indiana Jones a run for his money. And up next, an important story, seatbelt safety. It is a must-see guide for all parents. Stick around. Well, there are alarming figures out that reveal how many children are being injured by badly fitting seatbelts. Here is what you need to know. 3,000 children are hurt in car accidents each year up to the age of 12. They are 7 times more likely to suffer spinal injury from an incorrectly fitted seatbelt than an adult. Part of the problem is that many back seats are too wide, despite children making up 60% of backseat passengers. So a crash of just 25 or 30 kilometres an hour can be fatal for them. And with me now, Professor Lynnes from the Prince of Wales Medical Research Institute. Is this new research, Professor? Because I've never heard of this older children's studies before.
OK, we knew about the younger children, so the children up to 7 or 8. We knew that there was a problem with how they fit into the rear seats, so we've had booster seats and child restraints for children of that age. What this research shows is that that problem is actually greater than we thought, and that it actually extends to an older age. We thought that previously it did stop about 8, and after that it dropped off. What this study shows is that that risk of spinal injury actually persists up till children are about 12.
So what happens? What's the problem? And how severe are the injuries? OK,
the injuries that we looked at were severe spinal injuries. So they're ones where children might have a spinal cord injury and become a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, but also ones where there was a fracture of the bones of the spinal cord or rupture of the spinal column that could have resulted in paraplegia, but it didn't always.
So what needs to be done? Just give us the rundown of parents. Tell parents what ages the children are and how they should be restrained in the car. OK, so if we start over here with the infant restraints, children at least up to the age of 6 months, and preferably for quite a bit longer, should be in a restraint that looks like this, which actually the key difference with this restraint to the next type of restraint is that this faces the rear of the baby, faces the rear of the car. Now, this restraint will fit most children up to about 8 to 9 months. Some of them actually will fit children up to 12 months. And we recommend parents keep their babies in rear-facing as long as they can until their head sort of hits the end. So that's generally well known, but let's go to the next level, which is less well known.
Right. So up to this point, parents are pretty much doing the right thing. Then we move into the forward-facing restraint here, which goes from a minimum of 6 months, but up to about 4 years, so at least 4 years. And we see that up to about 2 years, parents are doing the right thing with this, but beyond that, parents are moving their children out of this restraint too soon. And I think that that's a bit of confusion over when to move them. So the key thing for parents here is to actually, a lot of parents worry about where their head is restrained to the back. And this child, if you look perpendicular to the back of the seat here, and you draw a line straight through that child's eyes to the back, you can see there's about 2 or 3 inches here. So this 3-year-old has plenty of space. The thing to really look at, though, is where their shoulders are with relation to this top strap. As long as their shoulders are not more than an inch above that top set of straps, they're good to stay in this seat, and they should stay in this seat because it offers more protection.
Right, up to the age of 4.
At least 4.
Now, that is generally when people start to think about putting their child in a normal seat, an adult seat, but this in fact, is what you should be doing.
Is what you should be doing. So this is an example of a booster seat, and this works with the adult seat belt, which obviously we don't have in the studio here, but the seat belt would come across through here, go across here and down here. This particular one has an extra clip here to keep the seat belt nice and low, and that is actually preventing the problem that we have in the rear seats. So what happens in the rear seats of cars with bigger children is that their legs, this part of their legs, is just not long enough to fit all the way in the back of the seat, so they tend to slide forwards and slouch down. And so that means the belt, instead of sitting down here under across the hip bones, actually slides up into their abdomen. And that means that in a crash, all of that force of that crash is on their abdomen and their lumbar spine, and that's where the spinal injury risk comes from in these children.
The way for parents to tell whether their child should be in a seat like this is to look at whether the seat belt goes across their hip when their back is to the back of the seat.
Right, so the easiest way to tell is for the parents to sit their child in the back of the seat, make them sit all the way back, so their back is hard against the back of the seat, and see whether their knee is bending over in front of the front part of the seat.
And if it's sticking up like that.
If their legs have to go up like this, then they're too small.
OK, and this is all you need to get, and you can use the seatbelt that exists in your car?
Correct. So this is used with a seatbelt. This one's actually quite good, and we'll go up to children who are quite old. You can adjust the top here up and down for different sized children. So as they grow, you can make sure it continues to fit.
What about car manufacturers? Is there any need for them to start designing cars differently?
Well, I think it would be very helpful if we actually shortened the rear seat of cars. The work that we did show that even shortening it by about 2 inches would make a huge difference. That would increase the proportion of children in this age group by about 34% that would actually be able to sit properly in the belt. So it would close that gap to some extent.
OK, Professor, thanks for coming in this morning.
You're welcome.
Important information. Now we're going to cross to Cameron in Melbourne. And Cam, how's the weather now since 5 minutes ago?